What I like to do is generally buy the cheapest whiskey in like the nicest looking bottle. Feel like that's the move for me, you know? Big old ice cube. Nice. Cheers. Not bad, not bad. All right, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dan. So I am currently in need of a bathroom vanity. So look, let's see what's available here. Custom vanity from Reese. Let's just have a look. Now I've only got about 800 to 900 mil to play with, which is why I need custom. Ideally 850 would be the width that we want, and it's just not a super common width, you know, so we want it to be as big as possible while still fitting in the space. Yeah, wow. Okay, so you got like a nice timber looking vanity here, but it's $3,455 starting from shit, you even get ones that are up to 5k, 3,500. I mean, yeah, these are expensive. Turns out custom vanities are super expensive. I mean, I'm not paying 3 to 5k for a vanity. It's not happening. So it looks like we're making our own. All right, the design. This is kind of what I've got in mind. So I've jumped into SketchUp, drawn a few things up. As I mentioned earlier, we've only got space for like 800 to 900 millimeters in width, due to there being a shower screen and a toilet. We'd like to have drawers, better for getting things at the back of the vanity. And we definitely want to use some timber to add some warmth to our micro cement bathroom. Alright, so I'm under the pump with this bathroom. I need to get it finished. So I'm looking for things that may save time. Now what I'm thinking is I'll just pick up a caboodle base cabinet. It's just a generic base cabinet with drawers and runners from Bunnings. And I'll just use that carcass. For the timber, we're going to use Tassie Oak. Once again, to make the whole process nice and quick, I'm going to buy these laminated panels from Bunnings. I was originally looking at buying individual pieces of like a shiplap or a VJ groove, but I figured having a solid piece of timber, like a solid pre-laminated piece of timber, is just going to be a better finish for a drawer front. If I was using individual pieces of shiplap, like when you open up the drawer, you would see that top grain there, and like how do you hold the outside pieces and not have it all flimsy? So I figured just getting that solid panel is gonna give me a stronger drawer front. And I figured I could just create my own V-grooves in it using a router. So the first thing I've got to do is modify this caboodle carcass. It's basically made for a kitchen, which means it goes from bench height, usually 900 millimeters, all the way to your kickboards. Whereas I want a wall hung bathroom vanity. So in order to get that, I'm gonna have to trim down the height of this carcass, and I also have to trim down the width. So this caboodle base cabinet comes in at 900 millimeters. I wanted it closer to 800 millimeters. So I basically just ran it all through a table saw, set the table saw at 100 millimeters, and I just ripped 100 mil off all those, you know, the front of the drawer, the bottom of the drawer, the back of the drawer. That way I'm taking it from 900 down to 800 mil. It was super easy, only took 10 minutes to do. Then the next thing I had to do was assemble it. So I applied Gorilla Glue to all the joints and I screwed it all together as per spec, like you're building any DIY carcass. Super simple. thing I did was take all my Tassie Oak pre-joined panels and I cut them down to sizes. So I needed a piece for the left of the vanity, for the face of the vanity, and for the right hand side of the vanity. Using a track saw for this made it just super easy. You could definitely get away without the table saw, but I would be getting a track saw for sure. So once I had all my Tassie Oak panels cut to size, I needed to create the V-grooves. Now, in order to do this, I used a router and a track saw. These panels were glued, in a factory. Each piece was around the 70mm mark, where each piece was glued and joined. That's where I created the V-groove. So when you look at it, it actually looks like proper V-groove cladding because each piece of timber is different. Whereas if I had just gotten a piece of plywood and I put the V-grooves in that, it would still be obvious that that's just one piece of plywood. Alright, so this is the stuff right here. This is one piece of pre-laminated Tassie Oak. You can buy it at Bunnings. If you can see, I don't know if you guys can pick up the difference here, but you can basically see that that's one piece there, there's another piece there, there's another piece there. They're all roughly like 70mm. To give this like a real V-groove look, all I did was find the spot where each board was glued, and that's where I put the V-groove. So that is how I achieved a V-groove look without using individual pieces of cladding. Once I had all of those done, I then exposed the grain of the timber. Now, how I did that was with this. I basically got this wire brush by hand and I just ran it along the grain of the timber, which basically it removes all the soft parts of the timber and what's left over are the harder parts of the timber. That is a shit explanation, but that's kind of what happens. And you're left with these wire brush marks in your timber, which gives it like a really textured surface, and it really makes the grain pop, especially once you add your varnish or your stain or whatever. By adding these wire marks first, it just gives the timber and the piece a little bit more depth. We just purchased these engineered floors. These engineered floors had a wire brush finish. So that's where I got the idea from. I just thought if my floors and the rest of the house are going to have a wire brush finish, it might be cool for the vanity to have one too. Jumped onto YouTube, figured out how to do it. Turns out it was super easy. So yeah. Wire brush finish. It's a little time consuming, but easy enough to do. So now I have all my panels finished with the V-grooves and the wire brush finish. I then apply a coat of Osmo Poly X, which is a really beautiful finish. I think I put about 3 coats of that on, then proceeded to fix all the panels to the vanity. And yeah, it was at this point, it was really taking shape. It was looking mwah. So yeah, in my SketchUp drawings, I had this like really large round knob. Yeah, it's like a, like a handle that you would use to like open and close the drawers. Yeah, we thought that would be a really cool little feature for the vanity. I had some of this 190 by 35mm black butt hardwood that was just sitting in the garage. So yeah, cut a big circle out of it using a router. I'm telling you, that was the shittest router jig that I have ever seen. It's got to take the cake for the worst router jig on YouTube, for sure. Has to. It was basically like a scrap of aluminium that I screwed into the base of the trimmer. The whole thing felt incredibly sketchy. Would not recommend it, but it got the job done. Ended up with a perfect round knob, so handle. So yeah, it was a little sketchy and I wouldn't recommend it, but it worked. And that's all that matters. Now, same thing with the handle. I gave it a wire brush finish, put the Osmo Poly X onto it. Then I installed the handle onto the drawer fronts. And that's pretty much it. That is my vanity built. Now, I'm sure somebody has noticed that the vanity doesn't currently have a sink, and that's because I'm doing the sink out of micro cement. Figured it'd be too much to put into this episode, so in the next episode, I'm gonna show you guys how I made the sink out of plywood and micro cement. I know, it sounds fucking crazy, but I've done it and it works, so, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is making a vanity. I think I made the whole thing in 2 days. As for the cost, I haven't added it all up, but I will put it on the screen right here. I can tell you right now, it is nowhere near $3,000. I'm thinking closer to $400, something like that. And yeah, that is it. That is the bathroom vanity part 1. Part 2 will be making the sink out of micro cement, so make sure you tune in to see how that was done. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.